The British Overseas Territories not ruling out legal action over a controversial UK anti-money laundering measure. That's our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Thursday, May 3rd. From the CMC News Centre in Bridgetown, I'm Nicole Best. Good evening. The British Virgin Islands and Cayman Islands are seeking legal advice regarding a measure proposed by the United Kingdom to fight money laundering, which the British Overseas Territories say is a constitutional overreach. The British government this week announced plans to force its overseas territories to establish publicly accessible registers that give information on beneficial owners of offshore companies. BVI Premier Dr. Rolando Smith says his administration will seek legal advice on the matter as it does not feel the proposed action is right constitutionally. He also believes that the UK is infringing on the privacy of offshore company owners, and the Cayman Islands government says it's also keeping all options on the table, including a legal challenge. In a statement, it said the UK House of Commons' effort to legislate for the Cayman Islands amounts to, and I quote, a constitutional overreach and is reminiscent of the worst injustices of a bygone era of colonial despotism. End of quote. It says that by imposing the obligation on the overseas territories but exempting the Crown dependencies of Jersey and the Isle of Man, the UK is discriminating against the overseas territories and Cayman Islands, charged that the amendment is based solely on prejudice and a willful misunderstanding of the territory's current regulatory framework. Over in Jamaica, the attorney for controversial Muslim cleric Sheikh Abdullah El Faisal plans to file a writ before the Supreme Court challenging his extradition to the United States to face terrorism charges. El Faisal was ordered extradited on Monday, but his lawyer, Bert Samuels, told RGR News that a writ of habeas corpus will be filed within the next 2 weeks, challenging the decision of the parish judge Broderick Smith, who ordered his extradition. The Muslim cleric is wanted by U.S. prosecutors who have accused him of recruiting people to join the terrorist group Islamic State. According to an indictment announced by the Manhattan District Attorney's Office in New York last August, El Faisal used internet platforms over a 3-year period to persuade individuals around the world to travel to Syria to take up the cause of jihad. Prosecutors say they have audio recordings of him recruiting an undercover cop. And staying in Jamaica, a day after the House of Representatives passed a resolution extending the state of public emergency in St. James for a further 90 days, the Senate on Wednesday gave the nod needed for the extension to take effect. It was approved just hours before the state of emergency was set to expire. During his presentation, Opposition Senator Lambert Brown requested an amendment to the Emergency Powers Act to give aggrieved persons the right to sue the state for compensation.
But in this regulation, there's no provision for compensation for loss of life, compensation for property, compensation for going from land, compensation for vehicle, but none for the life of human beings. I would like to propose that the schedule be adjusted to provide for compensation for human beings who may be killed, whether in good or bad faith. Keith Clark, 73 in West Kingston, tells us that amend these regulations to cover human beings.
The Andrew Holness administration had said the extension was needed in order to give the security forces more time to clamp down on criminal activities and the lawlessness plaguing the parish. But the opposition has threatened to withhold its support for any further extensions, citing human rights abuses and the lack of a tangible crime plan. On Wednesday, leader of government business in the Senate, Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, said if the government returns to Parliament for another extension, it will be based on the advice of the security forces. Caribbean police commissioners say gang violence is the biggest threat to the region's security. The concern was expressed at the 33rd Annual General Meeting and Conference of the Association of Caribbean Police Commissioners underway in Montego Bay, St. James, the same parish under the state of emergency in Jamaica. Vashon Brown of TVJ News has this report.
Gangs have been wreaking havoc in different communities across the island, but President of the Association of Caribbean Police Commissioners and Bermuda's Police Commissioner Michael De Silva says gang violence is not just a Jamaica problem.
The most significant issue facing law enforcement in our communities is the rise of criminal gangs. Across the Caribbean, gangs, gun violence, and drug trafficking all go together, and they represent a common and significant threat to many of our local communities. The Caribbean has a disproportionate number of homicides that outpaces much of the rest of the world, and we must reverse this trend before local gang violence transcends into violent extremism.
Mr. De Silva says during the conference, the regional commissioners will ratify a 5-year strategic plan. The strategic plan, he says, will guide and drive Caribbean police work to ensure that all resources will be used to reduce violent crime, increase border and cybersecurity, and enhance police legitimacy. Deputy Commissioner of Police in charge of the Jamaica Constabulary Force's Crime and Security Portfolio, Selvin Hay, argues that the lottery scam is a central part of the country's gang problem.
The proliferation of gangs, more so in the western end of the island, is fueled largely by the money that is available through lottery scamming. They purchase high caliber firearms that are capable of, and based on our experience, creates mayhem across our cities.
Director of Public Prosecutions Paula Llewellyn says the collaboration between investigators and prosecutors is critical in prosecuting gang cases.
Let me emphasize that very often, as with any prosecution, yes, you can have technology, yes, you can have DNA if it's relevant, but ultimately you need to have persons who are prepared, whether because they have had a road to Damascus moment and having been a former collaborator or conspirator with members of the gang, they are now prepared to do the right thing.
The conference is intended to strengthen regional integration and to develop strategies for law enforcement in the Caribbean.
The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service has announced a drop in murders and sexual offences so far for the year. But as we hear in this report from Uvashi Tuwari Rupnarayan of CNC3 News, the public is skeptical about the police statistics.
Wednesday, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service announced declines of the murder rate and sexual offences committed in the Port of Spain division. They also announced increases of the detection rate in that very division. But these assertions don't seem to be sitting too well with the national public. At CNC3, we opened our phone lines during the Morning Brew program, and all callers were not impressed.
This is just a public relations stunt, and it insults my intelligence each time they come on television, because people don't bother to report crime. They broke into my house, I reported it. Every week I go back, nothing. They never even came and asked the neighbor next door what happened. They never even came to investigate anything.
Some felt when the TTPS reports increases or decreases in murders and sexual offences, it should be done from a country perspective. They say if divisional stats are presented, it should be compared with the like figures of the other divisions. That means murders at the Port of Spain division should be compared with murders of the central or southern divisions.
It was talking about the country, they really feel it. Because just so it was, I watching a policeman trying to get a man a free in case, and I'm talking about crime going on, and then getting free in case and going up in the jail in the assembly. So we're talking about these things, nobody talking about these things, but crime going on.
Our callers who were from several parts of the country tell us they themselves have been victims of crime, but many hesitate to make reports.
I don't have no trust in the police service, none.
This distrust, our caller explained, stems from the police shooting to death of his brother some years ago.
Give him a wrong name, they said the car was stolen. Somebody who never did anything wrong, never had a record, never even get a parking ticket. They brand him as a murderer, and he was wanted in connection with 14 murders on us. And they did say, after 2.5 years, they apologized and he was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Many callers said their past experiences have led them to not bothering to reporting crimes against them.
Pirates attacked another fishing boat in Suriname's waters, killing one man on Wednesday. And this is even as authorities are continuing the search for victims and recovering bodies from last Friday's deadly attack on 4 fishing boats. Mark Lal, secretary of a local fishermen's association, said the captain of the boat was killed in the latest attack. The whereabouts of his crew members is uncertain. Several fishing boats, the Coast Guard and other law enforcement agencies on Thursday headed to the area near that's Matapika Canal, where the attack allegedly took place. And the body of one of the victims of last Friday's attack was recovered Wednesday evening from the Wea Wea mud flat, and the Coast Guard sailed out to recover 2 more bodies that were spotted in the same area. Director of the National Coordination Center for Disaster Management, Lieutenant Colonel Jerry Slingard, said recovery attempts on Wednesday were hampered by the mud, which is very thick, and he said rescue workers had to crawl on their bellies to reach the location. Barbados Finance Minister defends government's management of the economy amid a gloomy economic report from the central bank. Stay with us. There's more news after this break.
The Caribbean's greatest summer line. Yeah, it's country around the time. 44 is the hair. I know you love it here. Troops and festivities. We love the Caribbean. The all night, no time to sleep. Emancipate with we. Best food and folklore. Country around the 44. Best food and folklore. Welcome to our island shore. Best food and folklore. Entertainment to die for. Best food and folklore. Country around the 44.
Be watching on May 12th as the Anthony N. Sabga Caribbean Awards for Excellence is broadcast live from the Pegasus Hotel in Jamaica. Join us from 7:30 p.m. Eastern Caribbean Time as Kai Miller of Jamaica, Noel and Siobhan Joseph of Trinidad and Tobago, Andrew Boyle of Guyana, and Adesh Ramsubag of Trinidad and Tobago receive $500,000 TT, a medal and citation for their work in the arts, sciences, public and civic contributions, and entrepreneurship.
Follow your heart to the 22nd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival from June 27th to July 1st, 2018, featuring Kester Band, Singer Longy, Small Axe Band, Nyla Blackman, and Betty Watt. Also, Patti LaBelle, Dijon, New Vibes International, Rhythm of the Beat, and Wayne Wonder. Spice, August Alsina, Aishona, Byron Messiah, Dasha, Shaka Dimas, and Pliers, and Miss Lauren Hill. Save the date and book now for the 22nd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival, an experience like no other.
Barbados' Finance Minister Chris Sinclair is admitting that the economy is not where it should be, but he says it's not all doom and gloom as some claim. He took that position as he was pressed by reporters to respond to the grim economic report delivered by the central bank governor on Wednesday. Sinclair said there has been some improvement, and he referred to the $14 million increase in foreign reserves, which now gives the country a 6.9 weeks of import cover.
If you read the report very carefully, you will see that the reserves actually have the decline or the slide has stopped, and that the reserves for the first quarter of this year have increased. Now the governor made the point that net $14 million. Now the governor made the point that it was less robust because we had more foreign debt services to pay. Now if your trend line is going up, you can't say that you are worse. You have to say that it is getting better. What the governor of the central bank has said is that we're not where we need to be, which is true. But the slide that you saw coming towards the end of last year has been halted.
Sinclair also dismissed concerns about the central bank's plan to turn to the private sector for help. Central Bank Governor Cleveland Haynes had said talks had started with the private sector to secure between $60 and $70 million to boost the foreign reserves.
Given some of the delays in the sale of some of the assets, given the impact of things such as Brexit, fall of the British pound, in and on the foreign exchange earning of Barbados, that it has given notice to some private sector and public sector that if necessary, it may ask them to repatriate some of Barbados's reserves that are being held in foreign jurisdictions. normal practice.
Amidst much pomp and ceremony on Thursday, election candidates for the Barbados Labour Party have paid their deposits. The 30 candidates led by BLP political leader Mia Motley arrived in a tour bus at the Treasury office to cheer in party supporters. Speaking to local media after paying her deposit, Motley said her party is buoyed and pleased with the response of the electorate across Barbados.
The truth is that I think people recognize that the Barbados Labour Party Team 2018, that we're in touch and we're ready for the mission ahead. We're focused. We haven't just gotten here by accident. You have been with us, many of you in the media, over the course of the last few years as we rubbed shoulders, as we met with people across the island in people's assemblies. And we're going to take every day, one day at a time. The truth is that this is a relatively speaking, George, a long campaign, but we recognize that our duty is to stay close to the people on the ground.
Motley said campaigns are not always perfect, but she plans to remain calm, focused and measured, adding that that is what her DLP party would bring to government if elected into office. The BLP leader said the dismal economic review presented by the governor of the central bank on Wednesday is a reminder that the country is still in the throes of economic peril, and that should be the main focus of Prime Minister Frundle Stewart.
And we would perhaps wish that he would spend a little more time focusing on the fact that in the last quarter our economy declined, and that the targets that we set, whether for taxes like an SRL or whether for other reduction of the fiscal deficit, that we've not met those targets. So yesterday was a sober reminder that we are still very much facing very difficult times ahead of us, but we shall remain focused in this endeavor.
The Caribbean Broadcasting Union, the CBU, is calling on regional politicians to publicly commit to not passing laws that would force journalists to disclose their sources. The call came as World Press Freedom Day was observed on Thursday under the theme Keeping Power in Check, Media, Justice and the Rule of Law. A statement from the CBU noted that across the region there have been various actions that could stifle some fundamental media freedom. It said that efforts against the free media are sometimes demonstrated in new legal provisions, such as in the draft Data Protection Bill in Jamaica and similar provisions being introduced by legislators in Suriname and Trinidad and Tobago. The CBU statement from President Gary Allen noted that it's easy to erode the region's good press freedom reputation by passing laws that intentionally or inadvertently impinge on the freedom the media now enjoys. The CBU maintains that the provisions of Article 19 of the UN Declaration of Human Rights are fundamental to the enjoyment of the other rights enshrined in the constitutions around the region. And it says that when journalists are permitted to practice their profession and media houses are not regulated to achieve purely political and economic purposes, the entire society benefits. And ahead in Newsline Sport, Darren Bravo won't be back on the West Indies squad anytime soon. Stay with us. Sport is next.
Caribbean Awards for Excellence is broadcast live from the Pegasus Hotel in Jamaica. Join us from 7:30 p.m. Eastern Caribbean Time as Kai Miller of Jamaica, Noel and Siobhan Joseph of Trinidad and Tobago, Andrew Boyle of Guyana, and Adesh Ramsubag of Trinidad and Tobago receive $500,000 TT, a medal and citation for their work in the arts, sciences, public and civic contributions, and entrepreneurship.
The Career Development Institute's Caribbean Rising Stars in Beauty competition determines the best and most talented in hair, makeup, nails, or barbering. Win a scholarship and prizes worth more than $5,000. Build your clientele and expand your business. Upload 4 photographs of your best work to our email address. Watch the public vote on our Facebook page. Join the winners at the prestigious Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Center for a live finals competition. Email careerdevelopment.institute@yahoo.com. The Career Development Institute, bringing the best in regional beauty together.
Cricket West Indies Chief Executive Johnny Grave has warned there will be no immediate return to the international side for Darren Bravo after the left-hander thrice rejected offers to end his exile from the senior squad. Speaking to the Trinidad and Tobago Newsday newspaper, Grave said it was unlikely Bravo would be selected for the upcoming home series against Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, especially having not played first-class cricket for a protracted period. The 29-year-old Bravo has not played for West Indies in 18 months since he was sent home ahead of the Zimbabwe Tri-Series for a Twitter rant ridiculing CWI President Dave Cameron. And though the standoff between Bravo and the CWI was ended last July, the Trinidadian has continued to ply his trade on the international T20 circuit. Bravo remains the Caribbean side's premier test batsman. He is the only one of the current crop who averages 40, having played 49 tests and struck 800s. West Indies host Sri Lanka next month for 3 tests before Bangladesh arrive in July for a full tour. Later in the year, the Windies will tour Bangladesh and India for full series. The ICC World Cup bowls off next May in England and Wales. Fast bowling legend Courtney Walsh believes West Indies still need enhancement in key areas if they are to become serious contenders in the next Cricket World Cup in England, which is on the horizon. The Jamaican, who is currently the interim head coach of Bangladesh, identified competitiveness and consistency as the issues with the side, noting they needed some fine-tuning. Walsh told Observer Radio's Good Morning Jojo's Sports Show, and I quote, "I think consistency is the key. When I followed the games in the World Cup qualifiers, I think we were up and down and a little bit inconsistent. And I'm not sure as to the structure they have or what they are looking to work towards, but there are things when I look at them from the outside that definitely could do with some fine-tuning to sort of make them more competitive and a little bit more consistent." End of quote. The Windies have also struggled with in the longest format, where they are now ranked 9th, an all-time low following other difficult campaign last year. Walsh said that while some structures were in place to facilitate the development of the test side, the lack of players on the county circuit would inhibit the progress. The regional side secured their berth in the 10-team World Cup, which will be held from May 30th to July 14th, after finishing in the top 2 of the qualifiers in Zimbabwe in March. Although they lost just twice, they were far from convincing and were forced to pull out all the stops in order to book their place in the final. In other cricket news, Camu Liverpool made an explosive return from suspension by spearheading a 58-run win over Jersey as Bermuda eased their ICC World Cricket League Division 4 relegation worries at Kinrara Academy Oval yesterday. Liverpool provided the early impetus in his side's 242 or 49.2 overs with a boundary-filled 66, and then took a crucial top-order wicket to earn the Man of the Match award after Jersey subsided to 184 all out in the 43rd over. Having been sent in, Bermuda were given a flying start with 32 off 2 overs by openers Liverpool and Okera Bascombe. Liverpool played he flayed 2 sixes and a 4 in the first over from Cornelis, and his partner followed suit in the second delivery by Anthony Hawkins Kay. Bascombe went for 21 with 52 on the board, and Liverpool followed him back to the pavilion at 110 in the 16th over, having struck 8 fours and 3 sixes in his 43-ball innings. Ben Stevens, who earlier claimed 3 for 42, was Jersey's top scorer with 42, trapped LBW by Janario Tucker for 42, while Nick Faberry made 31 and Bodenstein last man out for 30. Captain Dion Stovell wrapped up with the innings with 2 wickets in successive deliveries. And over to athletics. Authorities are preparing to roll out the big guns for the Jamaica International Invitational. 4x100 meter Olympic gold medalist Sharon Simpson and double Olympic gold medalist Elaine Thompson are expected to appear for the May 19th affair at the National Stadium. But as we hear in this report, there are some major hurdles in the way of the Invitational becoming a Diamond League event.
The Jamaica International Invitational has held the status of an IAAF World Challenge meet since the year 2010. It is just one step below the rank of a Diamond League meet, and organizers, led by J3A's president Dr. Warren Blake, say they remain committed to having the meet elevated to the highest level.
In terms of organization and everything, Jamaica is ready for a Diamond League status, but the IAAF are the ones who make the final determination And they also have to find a sister meet to train you with, because the meets are done in pairs. And unless another country drops out, like how the Icon Stadium, the Adidas meeting Icon in New York dropped out, and that Diamond League was given to Morocco. Now, if something like that happens again, then Jamaica would be ideally poised to move up to that status.
And although noting that the meet is the only one in the Americas region that can be presently upgraded to a Diamond League status, there are challenges including financial limitations, and then there is the national stadium.
The other challenge is the configuration of our stadium, but we have been able to work around that. The backroom things that take place at our stadium is not the best. The pressers from time to time complained about the facilities at the stadium, but we have been able to get along with that, and I think we can improve on that a bit. And the minister announced earlier that there are going to be some renovations to the stadium, so we are hoping that once those renovations are done, the stadium will be able to take on hosting bigger events in the future.
Meanwhile,
and that's the sport. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Kick back, relax, enjoy the view, the boats, the scenery amidst epic parties, entertainment and nightlife. Antigua Sailing Week. Experience 7 days of non-stop bliss. Chase the race daily by land or up close by sea as the crews compete for glory. Then, when night falls, the harbor ignites. Antigua Sailing Week, April 28th to May 4th, 2018. Antigua and Barbuda. The beach is just the beginning.
The Career Development Institute's Caribbean Rising Stars in Beauty competition determines the best and most talented in hair, makeup, nails, or barbering. Win a scholarship and prizes worth more than $5,000. Build your clientele and expand your business. Upload 4 photographs of your best work to our email address. Watch the public vote on our Facebook page. Join the winners at the prestigious Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Center for a live finals competition. Email careerdevelopment.institute@yahoo.com. The Career Development Institute, bringing the best in regional beauty together.
Again, the major developments of this day, the BVI and Cayman Islands not ruling out a legal challenge to a UK anti-money laundering measure. And in sport, Cricket West Indies chief executive says there will be no immediate return of Darren Bravo after the left-hander thrice rejected offers to end his exile from the squad. That's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport around the clock, log on to CarnaNews.com. Thank you for joining us. Do have yourselves a good evening.